Welcome back to From the Shed End, episode 148 with myself, Theo, and the other Theo. How you doing?
Good, yeah. It's been a busy work week. So I'm glad it's the weekend now. Time to detach. Look forward to watching some Premier League football and just some time to chill. So yeah, looking forward to it. How you been?
I'm good. It's been a busy week. Very quick one, but busy week. A jam-packed one. So as always, grateful to get to the end of another week. Looking forward to a weekend of enjoying football. Obviously, Chelsea don't play until Monday evening, so we can enjoy the football. We can sit back and watch some results before we have to face Graham Potter's West Ham on Monday. But as always, please make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're on YouTube and you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're on the audio version of the podcast. Also, make sure you're hitting that Linktree link in the description. That will take you to the social accounts and also to our YouTube channel. So make sure you head over and subscribe. Let's get into some transfer news first of all, because the window does shut on Monday for Premier League clubs. Now, we've kind of spoken about this over the last couple of weeks about just who we might bring in. Mathys Tel was on that radar, essentially, and it looks like that's faded out now. We've also got some outgoings in Axel Disasi, which we can touch on. Still not been firmed up whether he's going to leave. Cesare Cassidy, another one. But let's just start with some of the incomings, because the news has broken yesterday. I think it might have been Ben Jacobs or another journalist that broke it yesterday to say that Chelsea may be interested with Evan Ferguson from Brighton, who is interested in loaning him out somewhere. West Ham have been on the radar, but now Chelsea seems to have entered the race to try and sign him on loan. What's your initial thoughts on potentially seeing Evan Ferguson in a Chelsea shirt for the remainder of the season?
I'm going to be very honest with you. I just don't understand the hype around Evan Ferguson. I haven't understood it when we were linked with him for, I think, almost 100 million, was it a couple of seasons ago. I still don't understand it now. And the fact that Brighton are looking to potentially loan him out and offload it says a lot about, the type of player he is in the club and how the manager values him. So I would just gladly be happy if we don't get Ferguson and he stays put at Brighton. I know he's also being linked to Bayer Leverkusen as well.
Yep.
His stats don't really impress me. I much rather, I know that I keep saying this, I much rather kind of watch football with my eyes than look at all the stats. But in this case, the stats don't lie. I think he's been at Brighton for 3-4 years and he's only scored 13 Premier League goals. He struggled with fitness issues in the past. So yeah, I think this is just one that, we're getting a bit desperate for a striker. He's maybe available on loan. And we're obviously going to be linked with him. And we're obviously linked with every single name under the sun at the moment. John Duran, Evan Ferguson, Mathys Tel. But yeah, I feel like if we can avoid getting Evan Ferguson, then I'd be more than happy. And that means prioritizing minutes for someone like Mark Gui, who I think has a lot of potential.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Evan Ferguson, but I do back up what you say, because the proof is not in the pudding with him. We haven't seen him score, have a season where he scored 15 to 20 goals. And I keep saying on here that that's what we need. We need to be aiming for a goal scorer that can, hit those numbers that are going to try and get us into the Champions League or try and push for a Premier League. I don't know if that's him. I think it's a massive, I think I've said to you before, I feel like it's a low risk in terms of covering over a crack for the remainder of this season by bringing someone else in. I still think Nicholas Jackson does need competition. He has that with Mark Gou, but I just feel that Maresca doesn't really trust him. And I think he's touched on some of that in the press conference today. But I just think if we're going to go out and buy a striker, do that in the summer. Go and let's not waste time, resource, effort, and maybe bringing in someone. So there's part of me that understands it's a very low risk, in my opinion, to go and get Evan Ferguson for the rest of the season. But let's go and focus on areas that we actually, the central defender, the goalkeeper, a midfielder that we potentially need to bring in this window before we go and get Evan Ferguson. So it's low risk. It would be competition for Nicholas Jackson. Victor Boniface is also available. I think John Duran now is going to the Saudi Pro League. So it does open a window of opportunity. But I think Mark Gou should be given an opportunity ahead of the signing of Evan Ferguson. Would you have been in favour of John Duran if the numbers were right in terms of the fee and all the rest of it? Although it looks like the deal's now done for him to go to Al Nassr, I think, in Saudi Pro League. But would you have been in favour of that based on what you've seen of him so far?
Absolutely. I feel like we were linked to him in the summer, and I haven't really seen much of him. I don't think he had more of maybe a sporadic role last season at Aston Villa, whereas this season he's become much more of a prominent figure in the starting lineup or kind of playing alongside Ollie Watkins, and near kind of like the offensive part of the pitch. But yeah, this is a move I could have gone behind. Every time I've watched him with Villa, I've been impressed. I feel like he's good enough to be the number 9 at any kind of big club. And I think it was linked yesterday. The reason that we didn't really kind of pursue a move for him is because we carry out checks on his temperament and character, and it kind of put us off. So maybe that's something. I don't know how accurate that is, but if it is the case, I think that's really poor from us because we've got a lot of other characters like Jackson picking up yellows for dissent and things like this. And I don't think like Duran's kind of aggression or temperament should be an issue to put us off. But also it says a lot about his character. If he's willing at his age to kind of drop out of the Premier League and go to Saudi Arabia, it probably means he's thinking a lot more about his long-term future and financially than probably his young footballing career right now. But yeah, that was a move I would have much preferred us to kind of pursue. But then I kind of back what you said. I feel like the focus right now should maybe be a centre-back, a goalkeeper, and then we go all out in the summer and properly identify a number 9, whether that be Isaac, Gyökeres, or cement those 3 names that we always mention on this pod. But it also, for me, it's just this whole January is just summed up with the next couple of days now. We've got, 2 days left in the transfer window. We haven't signed a single player. We're still being linked to new names, whether that be Duran, whether that be Ever Ferguson, Garnacho. We haven't got any of these deals across the line. It kind of goes back to the discussion we had about our sporting directors a couple of weeks ago or last week, how they're just not kind of fit for these roles because the fact they're panicking now and they haven't really identified a proper candidate on January 1st that we should be going after says a lot about them. And it just seems like now we're kind of maybe going to be in that panic buy territory. Evan Ferguson. I don't know who else, maybe Boniface, but yeah, it's just really poor that we've left it this late, in my opinion.
It's worrying as well because even some of the outgoings, you look at Axel Disasi, who's, personal terms have been agreed, I think nearly 7 days ago, the green light hasn't been given by Chelsea for him to move on loan to Aston Villa. Cesare Casadei's deal still hanging in limbo. João Felix has now been linked with a move to Aston Villa due to the fact that the John Duran money seems to be available for Villa, although they are, as far as I'm led to believe, struggling to meet financial restrictions in the PSR as well. So I think, Felix Welvin is right. He hasn't been given the minutes that he's essentially promised at the club, and he wants to move away from Chelsea now. But I agree with you 100%. That it's alarming when you think about the strategy that the club is trying to use, whether that's bringing in a array of youth talent or whatever they want to call it, or prospects, 18, 19-year-olds. But even the players that we are linked with, the Mathys Tels, that you think, a 19-year-old player, he wants to move from Bayern Munich, and theoretically he's rejected us because he doesn't want to be sat on the bench. He wants to move from Bayern Munich to get minutes. He's not going to come to us. So it almost tells us that the profiling of certain recruitment prospects is really bad as well. The fact that we had Renato Vega playing left back and he's come out now, he's moved to Juventus and said, essentially, I'm a centre back. I want to play centre back. It tells me there must have been a breakdown in communication between agent, player and club when we went to sign him from Basel. So what's your thoughts on the outgoings? Because Disasi, João Felix, we know Harvey Vale looks like he's joining Queen's Park Rangers on a free transfer with a very hefty sell-on clause added to that. What's your thoughts on the outgoings so far, or potential?
I mean, all those players you listed, maybe bar João Felix, because that's maybe linked to kind of minutes and him maybe deciding his future quite late on in the window. But Casadei, Renato Vega, Chukwuemeka, another one we haven't spoken about. Renato Vega, all of these players, Harvey Vale should have been done early in January. The fact that I think Casadei was almost frozen out of the team, or that Conference League game, I think against, there was one game I think he should have featured him but didn't because he was linked with a move away. And now he still hasn't got that move, and he's been linked to I think pretty much every single Serie A club, whether it be Torino, Lazio, Monza, and I think we're still trying to negotiate the sell-on clause. But yeah, this is just poor from us. This should have been a priority, especially that these players are particularly asked to move if they're not part of Maresca's plans. It should have been a priority for the club to get their moves away, and kind of, especially early on in that window, that we can take that money and put it towards getting a new goalkeeper, a new striker, which we haven't. Yeah, really poor. And then it probably means we're going to be stuck with these players for another 6 months, where they know that they don't want to be at a club. The manager doesn't value them, and they shouldn't be there, occupying a locker space.
I was just about to say, obviously, Ben Chilwell looks like he's 80% certain he will be staying at Cobham for the remainder of this season. There hasn't been any clubs that have been interested in trying to bring him to their club. So the question I'll ask you is there a way back in for Ben Chilwell? We've got rid of Renato Vega. We don't seem to be linked with any other left back. It'd be alarming if he starts Malo Gusto or Reece James at left back ahead of Ben Chilwell in any game for the remainder of the season. For me, that would, I'd have to have a serious conversation with my agent if I was Ben Chilwell, if that is the case and that does happen. But what's your thoughts on Ben Chilwell? How must he be dealing with all of this, because he hasn't come out publicly and put any cryptic post out? He's just getting on with his football very quietly at Cobham.
Yeah, I think he's stayed very professional. I feel like he still loves Chelsea Football Club, similarly to how Chalobah still loved the club. He's probably, I think, the only player alongside Reece James that was part of that 2021 Champions League victory in Porto. I think he's just been a victim of just having such high wages and being frozen out of the team because of those wages, like we spoke about with Raheem Sterling. Whether that actually is true, there's a bit of truth behind it, and he doesn't really fit into Maresca's tactics or formation, I'm not sure. That's maybe something we need to kind of find out with Maresca, and I don't think we'll ever find out. But maybe now it's time that Maresca actually swallows a bit of pride similarly to what I keep saying about the goalkeeper situation and says, listen, I've got a left back now. I've lost another left back. If I need to maybe keep Cucurella fresh for these Premier League games, it's time maybe he plays Ben Chilwell in the Conference League and gives him a couple minutes when there is an occasion. I still feel like, given how stubborn Maresca is, I don't think it's going to happen. I think he might even insist on playing Gusto left back or even Colwell left back. So yeah, it's just very harsh treatment for Ben Chilwell, and I feel really, it's just a shame because you don't really want to see these players after they're so loyal to the club and given the club so much kind of depart in such cold and bad times in a way as well.
It is an interesting one because I still feel he's got a massive role to play at this club. I think was he not given a captaincy armband? Was it against Barrow when he came on? I feel like he was given a captaincy armband in that game when he came on as a sub. So, Caleb Wiley before, and this is a name that was only on my radar a couple of weeks ago because I actually didn't know we signed him. We've signed so many players. We've also signed a guy from Everton for 4 million. Found that out the other day. Never heard of him. But anyway, Caleb Wiley, currently on loan at Strasbourg, looks set to have a loan with Watford for the remainder of this season. Do you think that's potentially to test his waters in English football to see how he copes, maybe with the hope that he's shown promising signs whilst he's been at Strasbourg and might get a couple of games under his belt for us next season?
Yeah, it could be. Or it could also be that we want to free up a spot, loan shop in Strasbourg and send another one of our loan players there. I wouldn't be surprised if we sign a 16 or 17-year-old Brazilian before the transfer window ends and we loan him out to Strasbourg. But I feel like I do want to go with your kind of reasoning behind it and give him a bit of taste of English football. Championship, I feel the quality is quite good. It's quite intense as well. It's very physical. And that could be maybe good prep to see if he's ready to play English football, Premier League football, and then maybe make a decision in the summer on his future afterwards.
Be interesting. I mean, there's a lot of players we could potentially throw in that category as well. Andre Santos is obviously the key one that a lot of people are talking about. Petrovic, another one. Interesting that we haven't opted to recall either of those, although they're having really good seasons, respectfully for their club that they're at the moment. But you would think maybe a consideration would be to recall one of them. Now, no fresh injury news that was reported yesterday by Maresca at the press conference ahead of the game on Monday. Wesley Fofana is still out. Romeo Lavia is still out. Benoit Badiashile still out. Maresca did go on to say that Marc Gu is improving a lot. He's doing fantastic. Then he also went on to say, but sometimes the decisions I take in game is because I see something sometimes good, sometimes not. What's your take on that? it's very. I feel like with Maresca at the moment, his attitude towards the press conferences have changed slightly since our defeats have been coming through, or our lack of wins have been coming through. But does that tell you that he just doesn't feel that Mark Gu potentially is ready to step up to the mantle and be the number 9 that we need?
Yeah, I kind of agree with what you said. I feel like his way of handling questions and his responses almost seem like there's a bit of frustration behind some of the his tone of voice and the way maybe these questions are expected to be asked at times. But he still seems quite frustrated with the fact he has to respond and the manner he has to respond. But like anything from the striker situation to the goalkeeper situation, these are questions that are expected given the poor performances behind Jackson and Robert Sanchez. But there could be some truth behind it. I mean, at the end of the day, we only see what happens on the pitch during the 90 minutes. We don't see what happens on the training grounds. It could be that Jackson's banging him in on that Cobham and is on red. He's training well and he's listening and fitting into Maresca's kind of tactical plans, whereas Gui, on the contrary, is struggling to maybe adapt to that tactical kind of sharpness or awareness that Maresca wants from him. That being said, football, what happens in the Premier League pitch or the Conference League pitch, and I've been very impressed by Mark Gui. I feel like he's been very sharp. Thinking back against those games against Astana in the Conference League, Astana and Shamrock in the Conference League, sure, be it against maybe slightly less quality opposition, but nevertheless, this will get his confidence up. Similarly to how Sanchez has been really poor between the sticks, the solution to that is just to drop him and give someone else an opportunity. And if Jackson doesn't score for 7, 8, 9 games in a row, similarly to that, you've got to drop him and play someone else and give them a shot. So we'll get predicted lineups or preferred lineups for the West Ham game on Monday night, but that would definitely play a part in my picks, in my reckon.
I agree with that 100% because I think you can train as much as you want, and anyone that's played football at any level will tell you that you can train to a certain level, but when you're in an actual in-game match environment, it is completely different. And I don't think you can pick up the same experiences that you can from training at Cobham that you will playing a competitive match. So I think he needs opportunities. I agree. Maresca's clearly seen something that he's not in favour of to put him in the team from the starting position. But at what point is he going to be ready if he's not been given opportunities to do so? And I think we have to seriously question, if Nicholas Jackson, who I think does need to be taken out of the limelight, does need competition, isn't taken out of the limelight in the next couple of games, for me would be a massive question mark, more so about Maresca, his decision making, and ultimately, we've seen it before at Chelsea, could ultimately cost you your job eventually if you don't pick up the results that you need. But yeah, I mean, we talk about Mark Gu. Let's go back to some of the points made.
I was going to add, if I'm Mark Gui, I'm on the phone to my agent saying, like, 100%. I've been here for 6 months. It's a transfer window right now. What opportunities are there out there? I think there was Sevilla that were lurking in the summer or beginning of the transfer window. It's gone a bit quiet. But then again, it kind of maybe it's Chelsea blocking the move because they do want 2 natural number 9s at the club and competition for Jackson. But I can fully get if Mark Gui gets a bit frustrated at the end if he's sat on the bench watching someone playing his position who's not performing and he's not given a shot. Then he's completely entitled to get frustrated and maybe want to move away from the club, especially given his age and profile of player he is. He's going to be eager to impress.
And I think as well, in the back of Maresca's mind, I think he's still thinking about the Conference League. That's still there. He's probably thinking, Maresca is my go-to for that. Mark is my go-to for that. And in some ways, I get it a little bit. But, Michael Owen was banking goals in at 18. It's not unheard of for 18-year-old strikers. Wayne Rooney was making his debut and scoring past David Seaman at 16. So I don't get this whole sort of thing sometimes from the media and some Chelsea fans that, he's 18, he's still quite young. Players were doing that, back in the day, were scoring goals for fun, again, in relatively more difficult situations with more better centre-backs in front of him. So I think he has to be given an opportunity. And he hasn't come from Preston North End. He's come from Barcelona, which is has some of the best players that have birthed, been playing for them over the last 20 years. So, I just don't get it. I really don't get it. And it is quite frustrating to see that there's clearly a player in there that we've brought in he should be given the same opportunities as some of the other players, in my opinion. But Maresca has said that the fans need to get on board. We need the fans to be on board. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, you go to games a lot more than anyone I know, so you must see the atmosphere shift a lot over the last 2 or 3 years that we've had Todd Bowley and co at the top. What's your thoughts on that comment from Maresca that the fans need to get on board a bit more?
I think, I mean, I've definitely felt the shift especially from last season to this season. Last season, there was parts where it was very, very toxic, booing for Pochettino, booing for certain players, particularly Jackson, especially the stuff has been said about him online and on the John Obi Mikel podcast. And I think those comments come from maybe the back end of what happened at the Etihad when Robert Sanchez was getting booed every time he had the ball at his feet. I feel like that's what he's probably hinting towards. Like the fans need to get behind every single player that's wearing the Chelsea shirt. His tactical his formation, his squad picks. I think maybe it's also probably a hint that Stamford Bridge just needs to get up here a bit of an atmosphere because it's been really, really poor recently. It just seems like a very subdued and very quiet. There's a lot I can say about that, especially recently. I'm not sure you saw that big video that got leaked. I mean, not leaked, but got published, kind of analyzing how we're selling tickets to VIP kind of hospitality packages, corporate packages, all this before they actually get in the hands of the members and the season ticket holders, which just tells me that the owners don't really care about the atmosphere. All they care about is their pockets being lined up with dough and cash. So yeah, for sure, Maresca kind of hinting that those loyal match goers that do go to the ground, maybe there's less of them now, but they need to kind of definitely try to get behind the team and back all the players that are wearing the Chelsea kit.
It's a good point you raise there around the video. If you haven't seen it, I'm sure it's on social media somewhere. I think Eunice Talks Football with talking about the ticket prices and like you said, there's a load, and we've spoken about it before about the virtual waiting room, and I know you're quite lucky not to have to experience that anymore, but just the virtual waiting room in terms of what the frustrations that comes with, and then you're seeing either I've been, the last time I went to Stamford Bridge, I remember there was, it was hard to get tickets for this game anyway, and there were empty seats there as well, and you just think, where are these empty seats? There's people in the waiting rooms, on the virtual waiting rooms, that are dying to get these tickets. You get to the game and you see 1 or 2 empty seats and you just think it's mental. But also on top of that, as you said, you can see it clear as day. You didn't even have to go to Stamford Bridge to see this, but if you just look at the crowd, you can see that there's a lot more touristy approach to Stamford Bridge. You can just see it. I know people that go, no, you go there, you see it face value, firsthand. It's disgusting. Some of the prices as well, the tiers that they're in. I mean, it won't be far off. It won't be long till we're paying £300, £400 for a ticket, because that's the NBA price, that's the NFL price, that's the American football price for a ticket.
Absolutely, yeah. I was in New York in November, and obviously being new to New York, I'd been twice, but I was a bit like, here's the tourist thing to do is to go watch the NBA. So I got a Brooklyn Nets ticket and I paid, I think, $80 for it. Yeah. In hindsight, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for a sport that I'm not particularly fully invested in, but still want to have that little tick in the box on my New York bucket list. And I think that's what the owners are trying to do now with maybe American tourists, Chinese tourists coming to London, wanting to see the Premier League, and they're willing to pay those £180 Westview tickets. And that's where my season ticket is. And I do look around sometimes, and like you said, they've all got the mega store bags crammed with merchandise and kits and souvenirs, and they're watching the game through their camera, their phone cameras. So this definitely plays a part in what Maresca is hinting at, wanting kind of the loyal match-going Chelsea fans to really get behind the team and create a bit more of a positive atmosphere and supportive atmosphere as well.
Yeah, it's it's interesting. It is interesting. My thoughts on it already in terms of not buying merchandise, which is painful because a lot of kits have come out in the last 2 years that I've looked at and I thought, I really want to buy that one, but my principles are my principles. Let's talk goalkeepers, because he was asked yesterday about goalkeepers in the press conference around the switch maybe from Jurgensen and Robert Sanchez, and even potentially recalling Kepa From Bournemouth now, that has been ruled out. 100% that is not happening, according to Enzo Maresca. We are going to do our predicted lineup shortly, but let's talk goalkeepers because I'm still having nightmares about Manchester City with Sanchez. But what do you go with in this game against West Ham? How do you? Because it'll be a challenge. West Ham, they're a very well organized team from set pieces, physical team. That will make it difficult for the centre backs and the goalkeeper on Monday night. But who would you be going with in goal? Confidently backing in goal for Monday night.
Jurgensen. It's got to be Jurgensen. Yeah, I feel like Maresca's pretty smart because you asked him in his press conference yesterday, who would you play? Of course, he's going to say still to be decided. You know, this. He doesn't want to give the answer away because that gives an advantage to West Ham. And maybe how they decide to play. If it's Sanchez, they're probably going to press higher, be a bit more aggressive. If it's Jurgensen, maybe they're going to have to adapt to the longer balls, etc. But it's got to be Jurgensen. You've made, I think, the most errors leading to goals in the Premier League this season. You've got to be dropped. And also for the fans, what you said, you mean get behind the team. Chelsea fans are almost shitting themselves every time Sanchez has the ball at his feet, and it's almost.
I think it wasn't just the fans.
Probably people watching Levi Colwell.
Foster was probably shitting himself. Cucurella was shitting himself. So
substitutes on the bench, even exactly. But yeah, it's a sense of like nerves. Hit man, a cameraman as well if he's a fan. But yeah, it's got to be Jurgensen. I'm still unconvinced as well about Jurgensen, but it would kind of give me a bit more reassurance and a bit more of a safety net when he has the ball at his feet, when he catches the ball from corners and crosses. You did mention something quite important is when I think West Ham, I think just like physical threat and physical and aerial threat as well, because they've got a lot of tall players.
Yeah.
Mavropanos, Kilman,
Soucek.
I was going to Soucek, Kufau, I was going to say Antonio, but he's bless him, he's injured for the time being.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I feel like whoever is going to be the keeper needs to be aware that there might be like a lot of kind of aerial threats from crosses and corners and set pieces. But we don't sign goalkeepers just because they can play with the ball at their feet. We sign goalkeepers as well because they can catch the ball with their hands.
Save goals.
And save goals. And you bloody hope that's what Jurgensen can do if we brought him in from Villarreal last summer.
It's going to be interesting. Let's get straight into the best part of the pod. Our predicted lineups. Because I've got something different that I want to talk to you about in a minute, but I'm going to let you go first. Let's see. We can't see you. 1 second. Where have you gone?
Pretty sure I'm still here.
There you go. Sorry, that's for the YouTube viewers, but here we are.
Cool. So yeah, just backing what I just went through. I think Philip Jurgensen's got to be the man between the sticks for me. And this is the game now where Maresca swallows his pride and swaps his number one Premier League goalkeeper for his Conference League goalkeeper and switches things up. Back line, I would go with the same back line that played against City.
Okay.
So Cucurella left back.
Yeah.
It's Colwell left centre back. It's harsh on Tosin because I think he's been good, but I feel like we've recorded Chalobah for a reason. And Colwell's PVR. Is he not there, Chalobah?
Sorry, we'll find him. We'll put him in.
Right. And then my right back has got to be the captain now that he's fit again. For how long, I don't know. But Reece James will be my right back.
All right. Let's get him on. Reece James right back.
Yeah. Is that what you went for as well? Or... Nope. Okay. Interesting. Centre mids. I mean, I can't really see Dewsbury Hall playing in this one, and I think obviously Lavia is still injured after what Maresca said yesterday. So I would go with Enzo and Caicedo.
Yep.
Then this is where it gets tricky because I keep wanting João Felix. I know he missed the City game for personal reasons, but I think this is a game now where he needs to start Premier League game. He's had a 2-week rest from football. So I would start Felix as my 10, Palmer on the wing, and I would go with Sancho on the other side. I know Madueke scored 2 in a row, but there have been tap-ins. And for me, sorry, but that Instagram post he put up after the City game, almost like being like, yeah, I scored. This is all about me. I don't give a shit about the result. It's just
I thought that would get your back up a little bit, to be fair.
Oh, God, yeah.
So sorry, you're going for Sancho on the left?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And then my striker, after what we just said as well, has got to be Mark Wee for this one.
Yeah, I agree. I actually like this lineup, and I would probably say this is my go-to lineup. But what I would like to see, very controversial, is a back three. My back three, and this is going to scupper me even more because I can guarantee you the player I want to bring in potentially isn't there, but that's fine. I've got another option.
So, Josh Ashampong, right?
I was going to use Ashiempong, but I'm going to use Malagusto because I don't think we're going to see much of Ashiempong for the remainder of the season now that we've got Trevor Chalobah back. Now I would go with those there. I would take out João Felix, and I would put Palmer here. Now this is debatable because you could use Marju or you could throw Christopher and Kunku, which I'm going to do in there. I'm going to go with that. I'm going to have the two bombing down. I'd rather Reece James be my right centre back. I don't think I play him as the wing back, right wing back. Cucurella down this side as well. He's done that for Brighton a lot. Now, I don't know how often Maresca's played free at the back. I'm going to probably say at least 5%, probably a bit more. But I think defensively, especially against a team like West Ham, we have to be defensively solid. And I don't trust Chalobah and Colwell, who are both arguably our best centre-backs. I don't trust them with Jurgensen in goal. I think Jurgensen's going to need protection against this West Ham squad. I think Graham Potter's going to be up for this game. And I think the two in midfield, Fernandes and Caicedo, I think will benefit more so if you've got someone like Cucurella going forward and Gusto and James and Colwell, Chalobah as our defensive line. It kind of releases the shackles on the two in the midfield as well. And it's been proven that we can play the system, maybe not with these players, but under Antonio Conte when he changed things for us and we went on to win the league. It's doable. I think we've got the players to play 5 at the back with the two wing backs and that 3 in the front with Sancho. And I know this is debatable. This will probably never happen. But I think tactically we have to change something because going forward, we're creating chances, not taking them. Defensively, we're having lapses in concentration too much. We're changing the goalkeeper essentially, could be for the remainder of the season if Jurgensen plays well in this system. And I think it's going to help support the two in the midfield if we go for 3 at the back.
It's interesting, yeah. I mean, more often we made these kind of like tactical formation switches, it does benefit us. We did see it with Alonso under the Conte days when he switched to a back 3 against Arsenal. And often when things don't work, it is time to kind of be a bit more innovative and try something new. And if things, let's be honest, have not been working for almost a month and a half now, over a month and a half. So it could be time that we do trial out something new. And we are bringing some fresh faces in Jurgensen, potentially Ashampong if he's the right wing back, and this formation could benefit them as well.
And I think you get the best, but I think you get more out of Cole Palmer. I think in a system like this, you get more out of Cole Palmer, you get more out of Sancho. I just think we haven't got maybe all the centre backs we'd want to play in this formation. But I look at Reece James, we know he can play right centre back. It might even help him in terms of keeping him fit for the remainder of the season. Chalobah, we know he's quite comfortable playing in a back 3. Colwell, I think, would benefit from it as well. It would allow Cucurella, Gusto to be a bit more flexible down those wide areas as well. And I'd love to see Nkunku play almost as that false 9, but with the support of Sancho and Palmer alongside him. I just think we need to try something different. I really do. But I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's kind of like a good transition, maybe because it's the team that could be facing this lineup, West Ham. I'm just reading now on Twitter some injury updates that Graham Potter gave yesterday. On Lucas Paqueta's knock, we're just monitoring him and looking after him. We have to see. He hasn't trained so far this week, but we're hopeful that he will train the back end of the week. So he could be maybe a player that West Ham could miss, depending on if he trains this weekend. Some of it was very doubtful. It is taking a bit longer than we anticipated, added Potter. So I doubt some of it will feature on Monday night. Bit of bad news for Chelsea just because he's a very good player, but Jared Bowen is more positive, obviously. I'm not sure. Apparently, it's looking hopeful. He's trained the last 2 days, so still got some more training sessions to go. Well, that means training separately on his own or kind of rehabilitation trainings. But it might be too soon to maybe throw him into the starting lineup for Potter. But yeah, I think big players, though, those three from West Ham either way. So if those three miss out, it could be good news for Chelsea, bad news for West Ham. However, like I always say, every time big players miss out, we saw it with City. They kind of had a bit of a different back four, and we still struggled. So
yeah,
I think we can't take any kind of players not playing for granted, and we've got to take the game seriously either way.
It's interesting to know that, but it goes back to your point that you made about the physicality, the players that even if they're not fit, there's still going to be some really good players that will cause us problems from not even just set pieces, open play as well. Yeah, I mean, I'm in favor of both lineups. I just think sometimes when things, I said it last week and I said it on Wednesday's Wednesday or Thursday's podcast that we did. If things aren't working and you're putting out the same team, you can't expect different results because theoretically, what's going to change? And I think if you take some of these players out, like Nicholas Jackson, it might make them think, and Sanchez, I need to up my own game. I need to up my own levels. I need to be a bit more consistently better to make sure I'm in this team every week. That's the message I would be putting out if I'm starting in Kunku. If I'm changing things tactically, it might mean that actually we're not going to build the team around you, which I feel like maybe we do that a little bit with Jackson to try and make sure that he's accommodated in his striker role. We're not going to do that anymore. We're going to change things and we're actually going to make the best team, put out the best team we think is going to win the game. It might make some of these players start thinking, might get them on the phone to their agents and think, hold on a minute, things aren't as rosy as I thought they were going to be. And now that João Felix is getting more game time and Kunku's playing as the 9, actually, either I need to step up or I need to go. I need to find myself a club in the summer. So I just think something has to change tactically for Maresca.
Agree, absolutely agree. And I love kind of bringing this up as well. But our record against West Ham's actually pretty good at home.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, maybe I'm jinxing this, but yeah, now that I've started, I've got to finish it. But our last defeat against West Ham at Stamford Bridge came in December 2019. I think Aaron Cresswell was the goal scorer that day.
Yeah,
and since that game, we've won every single one of our games against them, conceding just one goal, I think, in 4 or 5 games since then.
Yeah.
Most recently that 5-0 win back end of last season, with Gallagher, Palmer, Madueke, Jackson all scoring. So yes, hope we can replicate that form and get another win over West Ham. Because I know we've done a double over Wolves now. It would be nice if we can do a double over another team.
Yeah, no, I agree. Just going back, Maresca hardly ever plays 5 at the back. He essentially plays 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3. He's played 4-4-2. We're now at possession with Leicester, so I do think it's very unlikely. But I mean, I would not be against it. I remember, I think it was Paul Merson said that when you play 3 centre backs, it means you don't trust the 2 centre backs. But sometimes I think defensively gives you a bit more reassurance at the back and also allows those 2 wing backs to be a bit more of the attacking phases of play as opposed to just being defenders. You don't want to play a flat back 5, but essentially there's going to be times in that game you might need to play a back 5, or you can utilize the wings a bit better. So I just want to see us put in a really good performance on Monday. We haven't really, obviously the team news we've spoken about for West Ham, but this is probably the best time to play West Ham. We're still going through that transitional period where they're, new manager. It feels like the perfect time, based on the record you just mentioned as well, to go and to get 3 points at Stamford Bridge against them.
Yeah, I still sort of prefer to play them under Lopetegui, where you felt they were really struggling. The players just weren't really getting behind him, and they look very lethargic and lackluster. But they do seem a bit more rejuvenated under Potter. They got a relatively impressive draw against Aston Villa at Villa Park last week. But yeah, it just still feels like they're still going through that transition. They're still learning on Potter. So it could be a good time to play them. I'm a bit more confident that it's at Stamford Bridge because we do have a good record against them at Stamford Bridge, less so at Upton Park, not Upton Park, the London Stadium.
Upton Park, bloody
Yeah,
hell.
I don't know why that came to my mind.
Best.
Yeah, but yeah, it's going to be I think it's going to be a tough game though. I think it's only going to be the one goal between the two teams.
I think it'd be a tough game. I think Graham Potter will set them up very much like he used to with us with the five at the back. I think he will play essentially five at the back and have, I suppose it might be
Emerson.
Saka and Emerson playing as the wing backs for them. So I think we should try and match them like for like, if I'm honest. I think it'd be a tough game. Paquetá, again, Kudus, two key threats for West Ham. But as you said, we've got a good record against them. We need these points. It was only a month ago, we were second in the league. Things are looking a lot more rosier. We have to end this really bad run of games, poor form of games, before we get into that real critical point of the season. The back-to-back Brighton games, FA Cup, Premier League, Conference League kicks off again very soon. So we have to start picking up points again, extending that gap below us and also catching the top four back up. So I'm gonna go 2-0 Chelsea. I think if we play a back five, I think 2-0 would be impressive. I'd love to know what our Monday night record's like. I feel like it's quite good. I'm sure we've got a good Monday night record.
Well, we only played on Monday, was it 2 weeks ago against Wolves? Yeah, I think it's not too shabby. And I think last season we played, was it Everton, and we beat them 6-0 on a Monday night.
There you
go. So yeah, it's not too shabby. But yeah, I'm going to go with 2-1. I think, like I said, it's only going to be the one goal between the two teams. And I think maybe we might even concede first.
Another thing to point out, the transfer window, I believe, will still be open whilst we're playing this game. I'm just saying, Maresca was asked yesterday whether the players have been distracted by that news. I'm just saying there could be some shockers. You never know. Arsenal were trying to beat.
Yeah, some exclusions from the squad as well. Sassy, Felix, potentially.
That's what I mean. So, I think Arsenal were trying to bid for Ollie Watkins during their game, and John Duran's deal was getting done for Al Nazar whilst they were playing Celtic the other night. So you never know. Exclusions could be. We might not see. He's done that in the past, Maresca. When he's got a point to prove. He's dropped players out of the team. Felix may not be on that team. Like you said, Disasi may not be in there. Cesare Casadei, Carney Chukwemeka. We might not see them on Monday night.
Definitely, yeah. I know it's very, very related, but it's just popped up on my Twitter and I posted about it. This is the ball that will be played, manufactured by Adidas for the Club World Cup this summer.
I actually like it.
It looks like, I don't mind it, but it looks like a beach volleyball.
It does when you got like the net that's sort of behind it as well.
It's really funny people on YouTube.
On the YouTube, yeah. You have to head over, guys, and watch it on the YouTube if you want to
see the price if that's in Chelsea Megastore soon.
I will be.
Buy that in the Chelsea Megastore.
£300.
£300, and obviously it looks like an American flag, so it'll be all over that.
And you'll stamp like the Chelsea logo in there, like a limited edition for like £1,000. Yeah, it's mental. But no, it should be a good game Monday night. I think, we like I said, we need 3 points. Currently, as it stands, we're kind of not looking likely to get the Champions League qualification, the top four, potential top five that we need at the end of the summer. Some really tough games this weekend as well. So we have to see how they pan out. Obviously, we've got the 3 p.m. kickoffs today, a couple of games tomorrow, and then our game on Monday. So we have to see how they go. But Theo, as always, thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Fridays are the new Fridays, but we are recording this on a Saturday, so it's fine. But subscribe. Make sure you like the video. Linktree link is in the description. If you're on the audio version of the podcast, please make sure you go over not only just to check out the beach ball that Theo is showing us, the volleyball, but also to make sure you get the subscribers up on our channel. We do appreciate all of that. And we will be back later on in the week with another video. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll be back soon.